system when you're standing at a distance. So we keep on waiting, waiting on the world to change. Now if we had the power to bring our neighbors home from war, they would have never missed a Christmas. No more ribbons on their door. And when you trust your television, then you get what you got. Cause when they own the information, no, they can ban it all they want, yeah. That's why we're waiting on the world to change. We keep on waiting on the world to change. It's not that we don't care, we just know that the fight ain't fair. So we keep on waiting on the world to change. After right now, yeah. All right. Do-do-do, 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 do-do-do. One day our generation is gonna rule the population. So then we keep on waiting on the world to change. We keep on waiting on the world to change. Oh, we keep on waiting on the world to change. 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 I think I'm gonna be sad. I think it's today. Yeah. The girl that's driving me mad is going away. She's got a ticket to ride. She's got a ticket to ride. She's got a ticket to ride, and she don't care. She said that living with me is bringing her down, yeah. For she would never be free when I was around. She's got a ticket to ride. She's got a ticket to ride. She's got a ticket to ride, and she don't care. I don't know why she's riding so high. She ought to think twice, she ought to do right by me before she gets to saying goodbye. She ought to think twice, she ought to do right by me. I think I'm gonna be sad. I think it's today. Yeah. The girl that's driving me mad is going away. Yeah. Oh, she's got a ticket to ride. She's got a ticket to ride. She's got a ticket to ride, and good. It's gonna make a difference. Gonna make it right. As I turn up the collar on my favorite winter coat, this wind is blowing my mind. I see the kids on the street, not enough to eat. Who am I to be blind, pretending not to see their need? A summer disregard, a broken bottle top, and a one-man soul. They follow each other on the window, 'cause they got nowhere to go. That's why I want you to know that I'm starting with the man in the mirror, and I'm asking him to change his ways. But no message could have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make a change. Na 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 na. Oh oh. Na 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 na. I've been a victim of a selfish kind of love. It's time that I realize that there are some with no home, not a nickel to loan. Could it be really me, pretending that you're not alone? A willow deeply scarred, somebody's broken heart, and a washed out dream. They follow the pattern of the wind, you see, 'cause they got no place to be. That's why I'm starting with me, and I'm talking with the man in the mirror, and I'm asking him to change his ways. But no message could have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make a change. You gotta stand up, you gotta stand up, you got to change, yeah. Na 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 na. Oh, make a change. Na 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 na. I'm gonna make a change for once in my life. I'm gonna make a change for once in my life. Mama, take this badge from me, 'cause I can't use it anymore. It's getting dark, too dark to see. Yeah. Feels like I'm knocking on heaven's door. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. 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 Mama, put my guns in the ground, 'cause I can't shoot them anymore. The dark black cloud is coming down. Feels like I'm knocking on heaven's door. Yeah, 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 yeah. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. 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 what you want. No, you can't always get what you want. If you try, you may find you get what you need. Walk slowly down the street. His brim pool way down low. Ain't no sound but the sound of his feet. Machine guns ready to go. Are you ready? Hey, are you ready for this? Are you hanging on the edge of your seat? Out of the doorway, the bullets rip to the sound of the beat. Yeah. Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. And another one gone. And another one gone. Another one bites the dust. Hey, I'm gonna get you too. Another one bites the dust. How do you think I'm gonna get along without you when you're gone? You took me for everything that I had and kicked me out on my own. Are you happy? Are you satisfied? How long can you stand the heat? Out of the doorway, the bullets rip to the sound of the beat. Look out! Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. And another one gone. And another one gone. Another one bites the dust. Hey, I'm gonna get you too. Another one bites the dust. 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 Hey, there are plenty of ways and you can hurt a man, bring him to the ground. You can beat him, you can cheat him, you can treat him bad and leave him when he's down. Yeah, but I'm ready, yes I'm ready for you. I'm standing on my own 2 feet. Out of the doorway, the bullets rip, repeating to the sound of the beat. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. And another one gone. And another one gone. Another one bites the dust. Yeah, I'm gonna get you too. Another one bites the dust. Shoot out. Hey, hey. Oh, yeah.
Hierdie WimTv show is nie geskik vir sensitiewe kykers of kinders jonger as 18 jaar. Die menings wat tydens die uitsending gelig word is slegs die van Wimpie, Simon en Stem. Dus is jy ingeskakel op eie risiko.
Some men aren't looking for anything logical, like money. They can't be bought, bullied, reasoned, or negotiated with. Some men just want to watch the world burn. It's showtime.
Die WimTv show. Seisoen 2. Willer, maller, steeds kontroversieel en heel moontlik onvanpas.
Hartlik goeienaand en welkom by nog 'n uitgawe van die WimTv show. Dit is episode 4, seisoen 2. En vanaand tackle ons die wit olifant in almal se huis. Die een waaroor ons almal kwaad raak, die een wat veroorsaak dat jy slapelose nagte het. Want you know what happens. I'm going to tell you what happens when there's load shedding. In my house, everything goes quiet, which is fine. The aircon goes off, which is okay, you can handle that.
The wife.
The wife goes quiet, which is also a good thing. But then, you know what happens afterwards. When everything returns to normal and the power comes back on, there's a little alarm that goes off. And it's the keypad to the alarm system. And that wakes you up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And then you're not a happy camper. So suffice it to say that I have to wake up every morning at 4:30. So if I have to wake up at 2 or 2:30 or whatever, then I'm not a happy camper and I get upset with Eskom. Hugely so. To the point where they are my least favorite people in the world. In fact, I think it is probably the worst company in the world. But we'll talk about that. Because we have experts with us in studio tonight. En hulle gaan vir ons vertel, julle. Hulle is die manne wat die weg gaan baan vir Kaapstad of vir stad Kaapstad om weg te beweeg van load shedding af. I want to know how we're going to do that, councillor. But you're going to tell us, because I believe there's a little birdie that whispered in my ear. Every time that Eskom is on load shedding phase 3 or phase 2, you are the person that's responsible that we are one phase down from that. I'm going to ask you how you do that. So Councillor Van Diele is with us tonight. We're going to speak to him about Eskom. He's going to tell us about the roadmap to economic freedom. And then also with us tonight, we have AJ with us tonight. And AJ is going to tell us all about his portfolio and exactly what it is that he does. He's our green guy, because you have to have a green guy. So tonight's it's a multiracial, multi-talented show. We've got a light, softly spoken pink person tonight. We have a green guy, we have a blackish guy, and we have STEM with us tonight as well, who's just an alien. But we'll get back to STEM. And then, of course, we have our band with us. Welcome back, band. It's been 2 seasons and just about, I think, 20 shows later. We had a huge milestone this week because over the weekend we had Bok Radio's 10th birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday, Bok Radio.
Thank you very much. That was on the 21st, which is Human Rights Day. We have a right for a radio station. So there you go. 10 years old. It's been a decade of Bok Radio. Which
It's still not legal though. You can't drink yet.
Well, you know what? Thank you to Eskom, we've already crossed that bridge. So, ons het ons band weer eens vanaand saam met ons. Baie dankie dat julle weer saam met ons is. You know what, guys? They've been with us for 20 shows now already. Never been paid a cent. Hugely thanks to COVID and also hugely thanks to Eskom, who takes all of our money. So we can't pay the band.
That's why we use acoustic guitars, because we can't plug in the electric ones.
So welcome back to the WimTv band. It's the awesome Mark Hayes, Justin Hoskin, and Stanley Hill. So take it away, guys. We're going to start off with you.
Je moet onthou, die band het ook iets van alles, nee? Ze blond, je moet zwart hare en een ginger.
2, 3, 4.
No woman, no cry. No woman, no cry. No woman, no cry. No woman, no cry. So I remember when we used to sit in the government yard, entrenched out, observing the hypocrites as they would mingle with the good people we meet. Good friends we had, good friends we lost along the way. In this bright future, you can't forget your past. So dry your tears, I say. Come on. No woman, no cry. No woman, no cry. Here, little darling, don't shed no tears. in Trenchtown. And then Georgie would make a firelight as it was logwood burning through the night. Then we would cook cornmeal porridge, of which I share with you here. My feet is my only carriage, and so I've got to push on through. But while I'm gone, yeah, everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright now. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright, 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 alright now, yeah. No woman, no cry. No, no woman, no woman, no cry. You little darling, don't shed no tears. No woman, no cry. No woman, no cry. No woman, no cry. You little darling, don't shed no tears. No woman, no cry. You little darling, don't shed no tears. No woman, no cry. You little darling, don't shed no tears. No woman, no cry.
Die broers is op pad na die WimTv teater by die Heroes restaurant en met byna 3 dekades se treffers het hulle geen bekendstelling nodig nie.
Jy staan in my drome, jy staan waar ek lag, jy staan waar ek wandel in die middel van
Na goeie reaksie op vorige Biltong sessies waar hulle die verhoog met ander kunstenaars gedeel het, kan jy nou uitsien na 'n aand met net die stemme, instrumente en natuurlik harmonie van Christo, Kobus en Nick Stevens.
It's the working, just the working life.
Bespreek betyds jou sitplek in die WimTv teater en word verwelkom met 'n drankie deur Van Loveren, wat ook 'n paar ander verrassings vir jou het deur die loop van die aand. Indien jy verkies om liewer saam te sing van jou braaikamer of sitkamer, kan jy ook weer 'n aanlyn kaartjie koop vir die Biltong sessie op die 26ste Maart. Alle kaartjies en inligting beskikbaar by wimtv.net. Is jy gatvol vir korrupsie, plaasmoorde, haatspraak, COVID-19 en rasisme?
Honorable Malema.
Dan is jy op die regte plek. WimTv, ongesensor en onbeskaamd.
Welkom terug, dankie dat jy weer eens by ons ingeskakel het vanaand en dankie dat jy deel is van die WimTv program. Vanaand gesels ons oor Eskom en die stad Kaapstad se weg uit beurtkrag uit. Baie opgewonde daaroor. I think let's start off, Stem, how's it going? You haven't said a word for the last 15, 16 weeks.
Yeah.
Nice to have you with us.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Do you want to do the honors and tell us who we have with us in studio tonight?
Welcome, AJ Trickham. You are of the green economy. You're the director there, right?
I'm the Director of Energy in the Green Economy. This is the Western Cape Government, Department of Economic Development and Tourism.
Okay, cool.
Fantastic.
If you can just explain to the viewers what is a green economy and how far are we from having that in the Western Cape?
Okay, so the green economy it's multifaceted. In the department, we've predominantly looked at energy, water, waste, and we also look at biodiversity. It's another angle, but we do that in partnership. So not just alone with our own department, but with the Department of Environmental Affairs and Development Planning, internally in Western Cape Government, But then there's a whole plethora of organizations that just sit outside of that. It sits with investment into the Cape, into the green economy, with the likes of Westgrow, with some other non-profits as well. But then also sits with partnerships with various organizations.
Private companies.
Private companies as well. They participate in the economy, as we talk about it, but also with keys, municipalities as well. And how far are we away? It's been here. It's all around us. It's actually, if you look at energy, if you look at water, these are basic utilities, basic carriers that only when something goes wrong do we actually notice that there's something amiss. In terms of the entire movement towards change, it's when we have these crises that we actually recognize how big the green economy really is. We find alternative solutions with water, we find alternative solutions with energy, alternative solutions with waste than the traditional, and that is what the green economy is. We're moving towards the complete underpinning of the economy as we know it, towards a more sustainable consumption and production model, like what the UN does prescribe.
Fantastic.
Is this, just a quick one, is this unique to the Western Cape specifically, or is it to the rest of South Africa as well?
It's across, not just across South Africa, it's actually across the world.
Okay.
In energy, which is my portfolio, it's termed as the energy transition. So it's quite a market change, a market shift, as we're moving from old traditional forms of energy generation, specifically in fossil fuel generation, towards new renewable, modular, not large, heavy, but really modular, fit for purpose kind of vehicles, and at the same time growing a whole economy and whole ecosystem around that.
Okay. Councillor Vandile Maxiti, did I get that right?
That's correct.
Okay, so you are the unsung hero because you are one of the people that's responsible for the city of Cape Town always being one, well, apart from the last load shedding, I think, which we were sort of up to speed with Eskom. How do you do it? How do we manage to be one step lower?
Yeah, what I can say, people must understand firstly, that as the city of Cape Town, we are, for now, unable to replace Eskom. But we do have programs that are actually meant to address the load shedding that is facing us. We've got about 3 power stations. The one is the Steenbras hydropower, the gas turbine at Rogebai, another gas turbine at Athlone. So these are systems that we are using to complement the capacity that we are expected to shed. So the reason why now Cape Town is able to shield the customers from one stage is because we do have those stations that are actually generating electricity.
Okay.
So what we do, when Eskom implement stage 2 of load shedding, we are able to shed our customers from one stage, so they will be shed at stage 1. If Eskom is at stage 1, then there will be no load shedding for the City of Cape Town customers. So we are using the capabilities of generation that we're having.
I see there was a tweet earlier on today, well, about an hour ago, where Eskom, and I found that whenever we get this type of tweet from them, it says our power system is under severe pressure. Please switch off all unnecessary lights, your geyser, pool pump, and non-essential appliances. Please switch that off. And when they do that, they are just about to start load shedding again. So I think we're probably heading into load shedding by probably on Thursday. How far are we away from, is it achievable? Let's start with that. Is it achievable that we can, in the Western Cape, move away from load shedding completely?
What I want to say is that there are alternatives that might mitigate the impact of load shedding. So that is done in many projects that we are encouraging. I will state one of the projects, I think my colleague here will attest to it, the small-scale embedded generation. We are even incentivizing people to make sure that they do install those technologies, because we are saying that it is going to take some time for us to get off the grid of Eskom. It is not going to happen now in the short term, but there are mechanisms that can actually mitigate that.
How long is that process? What is the time frame we're looking at?
The time frame to move away from Eskom,
Yes.
we will have to do a lot of, I would say, research and studies, because remember the network that is out there. If you can see the pylons that you are seeing there is Eskom. And there is also a technical advice to say it was never created to accommodate the renewable energy. So we are not for sure how much can it take. That is why we did not want to go at once off the grid. We said we just want to diversify so that when Eskom cannot provide, we can
provide.
also get some other sources.
Okay.
So that was always our intention as the city.
Okay, so tell us about the cost of load shedding. What is the real cost of load shedding? We see the power going off and you see businesses, we've had that experience here, where we're running a big generator, we've done everything possible, but you can't run everything on the generator. So what happens is, the minute you have your 50 or 60 people here, and load shedding happens, you can't have the extractor fan because that pulls too much power off the generator. So suddenly the whole place is in smoke, and then you've got to stop grilling, and you've got to stop making food, and people leave. And we can, in real terms, see how that costs us money. What is the actual cost of load shedding? Have you actually worked it out? Is there a cost per hour, per day, or per shift that there's load shedding?
I think my friend can actually comment on
let
that
me
one,
take that
because
one.
I know they've got a calculation that they've done.
There's a couple. So the short answer is that there isn't an accurate number. There's different numbers for different sectors, and there's different numbers for specifically, for the regulator, for example, they put out a different number. And then the CSR, the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, they, I think about a year ago, had put that at 87 Rand 50 per kilowatt hour. That's the cost of, and it's known as the cost of unserved energy. We've taken that cost, we've taken a couple of other costs, and we estimate to the Western Cape in particular that that's about 75 million Rand per stage per day. To the country, we know it's about 500 million Rand. So
Per stage per day.
Per stage per day.
So if
500
we,
per stage per day.
in the Western Cape, if we're on stage 2, you're looking at 150 million per day.
Stage 2, so that's, no, it's 1 billion.
Per stage.
Per stage, so 500 million one stage per day. If you've got 2 stages, then it's 1 billion per stage per day.
Nationwide.
So that's nationwide. And then we've calculated that the Western Cape is about 15% or so of the national GDP. So that proportion is about 75 million Rand per day. So that's the calculation. So I mean, you can understand why the city of Cape Town is undertaking their work on reducing to stage 1, because that automatically, and I must say that city of Cape Town is the biggest load in the Western Cape. So the bulk of that 75 million, and not all of it, but the bulk of it is sitting within city of Cape Town.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. All right, we're going to come back with some audience questions and some YouTube questions, etc., etc. But before we do that,
Well, okay, we're going to go to the band.
No, Simon,
No, I just want to ask
you
you
never
now-
say anything, please.
Yeah. So you say that you do some incentives for people, but this is going to be a question because what we read in the media and what's happening maybe in real life might not be the same thing. So correct me if I'm wrong, so it's a development goes up and you incentivize the developer by putting up a solar geyser for argument's sake. Is it something what you're talking about?
No, what I'm talking about is that if you install the technology and then you generate your power,
To feed back into the
yes,
system?
the capacity that you're not using, you can feed back and then we will pay you for that.
So is that legislated, is it legal already in
It
Cape
is
Town?
approved, it is approved by council, and I think we were the first municipality to approve that feed-in tariff.
Correct. If I could just
So
add,
is it happening at the moment?
It is currently happening. It's been happening for more than 5 years. And I think that, just to say that City of Cape Town, I think in the country, were the pioneering municipality that introduced it. And we then took, together with City of Cape Town, took a lot of the work that was developed, the good work that was developed by City of Cape Town, and then started pushing it out through all Western Cape municipalities. So right now, We're sitting with at least about 20 municipalities where you actually have a feed-in tariff that you can actually put electricity back into the grid.
So is that municipalities feeding back in, or is it private companies as well, like maybe mines or factories?
It's private consumers.
It's private
commercial.
consumers. If you install the system in your house and then you use the energy and then you've got excess capacity, you can feed back and then we will pay you. Municipalities will pay you as an installer.
Okay,
And we are also doing other things because we are trying very hard to make these things very easy for whoever that want to install. We are engaging the renewable energy industry to say, what is it that you would love us to do to simplify the processes and everything. So we've got those engagements quarterly with all the installers, with all the role players in the industry to understand what are the challenges, how can we improve, because we want to make it very easy for our people to install the systems.
We're going to go to the band when we come back. I want you to explain it to us
Yes.
in real terms.
Absolutely.
Simple. I'm a resident here in Brackenfell. Exactly how does it work? How do we feed back power? And how does it? Do you give me actual cash, or do I get it off on my council account, whatever? We're going to speak about that when we come back.
Quite interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. So we're going to go back to the band, and when we come back, we're going to ask those questions and see exactly how it works. Because I'm always in for
The credit.
yes.
Or money back.
Sha la 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 la, yeah. Yeah. Was down at the New Amsterdam, staring at this yellow-haired girl. Mr. Jones strikes up a conversation with the black hair, the mango dancer. She dances while his father plays guitar. She's suddenly beautiful. Well, we all want something beautiful. Man, I wish I was beautiful. So come dance the silence down through the morning. Sha la 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 la, yeah. Yeah. Cut up, Maria. Show me some of them Spanish dancing and pass me a bottle, Mr. Jones. Help me believe in anything, 'cause I wanna be someone who believes, yeah. Mr. Jones and me, we tell each other fairy tales, yeah. We stare at the beautiful women. She's looking at you, I don't think so. She's looking at me, and smiling in the bright lights. We're coming through in stereo, and when everybody loves you, then you can never be lonely. Well, I'm gonna paint my picture, paint myself in blue and red and black and gray. All of the beautiful colors are very, very meaningful. Oh, you know gray's my favorite color. I felt so symbolic yesterday. If I knew a Picasso, I would buy myself a great guitar and play. Mr. Jones and me, we look into the future. Yeah, we stare at the beautiful women. She's looking at you, I don't think so. She's looking at me, standing in the spotlight. I bought myself a great guitar, and when everybody loves me, and I will never be lonely. I will never be lonely. I'm never gonna be lonely. I wanna be a lion. Everybody wants to pass this cat said. We all got big stars, but we all got different reasons for that. Believe in me, because I don't believe in anything, and I wanna be someone to believe, to believe, to believe, yeah. for you. Man, there's got to be somebody for me. I wanna be Bob Dylan. Mr. Jones wishes he was someone just a little more funky, and everybody loves you. Our son, that's just about as funky as you can be. Mr. Jones and me, we're staring at the video. When I look at the television, I wanna see me, yeah, playing on WimTv. We all wanna be big stars, but we don't know why and we don't know how. But when everybody loves me, I'm gonna be just about as happy as I can be. Mr. Jones and me, are we all gonna be big stars?
Vriendin, kan jy glo Faf de Klerk het vir my 'n persoonlike videoboodskap gestuur om my geluk te wens met my verjaarsdag. Oh, jy jok, rarig. Beloof, daai man laat my mos soos 'n tortelduifie koer. Hoe het jy dit reg gekry? My suster het dit gereël. Gaan net na myfanpark.com en jy kan kies van duisende celebs vir enige geleentheid. Oh, wag, miskien moet jy vir Jan Krywag en vra hom vir jou maale die nuus te breek dat jy weer preggies is.
myfanpark.com. Jy is ingeskakel by nog 'n episode van die WimTv show met Wimpie, Simon en Stem. Ongesensor, onbeskaamd en nie vir sensitiewe kykers. Jy is gewaarsku.
Welkom terug hier by die WimTv show. Dit is episode 4 van seisoen 2. Baie dankie dat jy by ons aangesluit het en onthou jy kan deel wees van die live studio audience. Ons het lekker mense hierso en hulle klap hande vir die band en goed, ek het nog nie iemand eintlik vir my gehoor hande klap nie daar.
Ja.
Baie dankie. So ons het twee energiekenners hier by ons van die stad Kaapstad wat poog om vir die stad Kaapstad en vir jou derhalwe as jy hier bly die load shedding probleme so 'n bietjie makliker te maak en te probeer dat ons van die grid afkom, nie van die grid afkom nie, maar dat ons van die grid afkom wat load shedding aanbetref. Ons het 'n energie-expert, Ted Blom, gevra om vir ons te vertel wat dit sal beteken vir 'n maatskappy soos byvoorbeeld Eskom. So ek gaan vir Joey vra om daai soundbite vir ons reg te kry. Terwyl sy dit doen, dit moet verrykende gevolge hê vir Eskom wat alreeds vir ons vra. It's the only company in the world that I know that encourages you not to use their product and to use their product as little as possible, and then when you use it sparingly, they still double charge you for it. So yeah, it's the only company in the world it's a perfect business model. It's a business model that we all aspiring to and can't reach for some reason. So kom ons hoor gou wat sê Ted Blom wat ek hy sal die nagevolge of die gevolge wees vir 'n maatskappy soos Eskom.
I've done calculations about the consumption of the Western Cape, and my estimates are that if they start doing their own thing for electricity generation, the impact could be between 2,000 and 3,000 megawatt. The rationale at the time, historically, for building Coburg down that side of the land was because Cape Town and the Western Cape doing about 1,500 to 1,800 megawatt in the 1970s. And that has increased because of the better growth to around about 2,200 megawatts. But one needs to differentiate between dispatchable power and non-dispatchable power. And if they're going the route of non-dispatchable power, like renewables, it has far more severe implications than just adding and subtracting numbers.
Okay. Did that make sense to you? Explain that to us in layman's terms.
So maybe I'm going to start with just some of the background that Ted just mentioned. So historically there was a certain amount of generation that was required in the Western Cape, and he mentioned that Coburg was obviously meeting that demand in the Western Cape. It's also been used to stabilize the national network. So that's another reason why we've got the likes of a Coburg, because we've got a sizable amount of load. And when you talk about City of Cape Town as being one of the biggest loads, that also assists with balancing grid. So that's where the starting point about 1,800 megawatts, which is what the Kuba capacity is, right? After that, because we've seen obviously economic growth, we've seen population growth, we've seen that increasing. So the demands are increasing. And luckily, obviously, we've got this national network that allows for some of the electricity to come from our coal stations in the north down and feed in the load that is the Western Cape. Then he moved to the whole aspect of renewable energy. So with the likes of traditional power stations, like your coal power stations, like your nuclear power stations, the value of that, and he calls it dispatchable generation. So whenever you need the electricity to be generated, you can basically flick on a switch. It does take some time, so there's some time it takes to start up, for example, a coal power plant. It may be a good number of hours. Nuclear is very much the same, but basically you can dispatch it to meet a specific load. There are some technologies, for example, like the open cycle gas turbines out in Atlantis, where it's a lot faster. It's basically minutes when you can bring on that load. And so they typically use that at peak times, what they call peak times. That is actually very different to renewable energy, where with renewable energy, it's dependent on the resource. So when is the sun shining, for example, so that you can actually generate, because obviously the technology is such that it requires the sun, and similarly for wind. So when the wind is blowing, you can generate, but if there's no wind, obviously you wouldn't be able to generate. I think we've been blessed in South Africa and in the Western Cape to have quite formidable amounts of wind and solar. And if you look at the spread geographically, I think we're starting to be able to see if we have sufficient renewable energy plants, we can have a sizable amount of the day basically that can be covered by renewable energy. What he did say is that because it's not dispatchable, and typically this is called variable renewable energy is a variable source. You need something to back it up. And what is really exciting is traditionally one would use open cycle gas turbines, the diesel turbines that are running in Atlantis, to meet
quickly.
To meet it's called flexible generation. So quickly, sort of fill in the gaps. But then what's also exciting, right, as I said earlier, is this emerging technology where, similar to where solar a couple of years ago, maybe about 5 to 10 years ago, was quite expensive, that's where batteries are right now. So over the next 5 years, we're going to see battery prices tumbling. In fact, we're already seeing it across the world. And so that will provide for your flexible generation.
Was that not where the problem was 5 or 10 years ago, where the renewable energy was great when you needed it, but the problem was you couldn't store it or keep it for when you do need it, and the battery, area capacity will solve that problem, because I mean you might have a strong wind day or a turbine and everything's there, but you don't necessarily need that electricity now, and you need to keep it for maybe on a high density time, between 6 and 8 at night or whatever the case may be. So what you're saying is that's going to be fixed in the next. We're already there, basically.
So part of that challenge was actually the cost of the technology. So if you look at and typically it's called technology learning curves. If you look at the technology learning curve about a decade ago on solar, that has now matured to such a point that, solar PV is easy to put up. You can put up one on your house, whereas 10 years ago it was a lot more costly to put up at your house.
You can see that in the Tesla motor company, how the cars prices has come down in the last 10 years,
and then
from the very first one to today.
And they move forward to say that let's look at the power wall, let's look at roof tiles. So they've also innovated to be able to try and bring those costs down. And by building, for example, gigafactories at scale, you start bringing that cost progressively down. So as we, and that's why I said it's really exciting, because we're looking at this from one of our projects at the moment. Our municipal energy resilience project is what is the opportunity for large-scale battery storage to be able to offset some of these stages where either it's too costly to run or to buy power from Eskom, or could there be a stage of load shedding, or could be some kind of mitigation that we could offer. So
I listen to what you're saying, and I'm fascinated by it, but it makes me upset because I'm thinking, you're sitting with a company like Eskom who's had the majority, who's just had everything.
Monopoly.
I mean, they've had the monopoly. Could they not, seriously, 10 years ago, have figured out that this is the way the world's going, and maybe we as a company, as Eskom, should have, we should have grown with the industry, which they haven't done, to be honest. I mean, what have they been doing with their time for the past 10 years, apart from paying the Guptas? It does not make sense. It makes absolutely zero sense. If I was in charge of Eskom, I would have been 10 years ago, for a decade ago, I would have been on it and looking at alternative ways to generate power and to fulfill my customers' needs, which they haven't been doing. So, am I right? Should everyone at Eskom just be fired?
Can I go first?
Yes. Please.
You sound excited about the question.
You see, one of the reasons why we find ourselves in the situation that we are in is because of mismanagement at Eskom. But it's not only about that mismanagement. We need to understand who were the big role players there. Today, we are speaking of the state capture, and who are those people that are actually every day brought to that commission?
Let me
What
rephrase.
is the role?
They shouldn't be fired. They should be in jail.
So what is the role of those people at Eskom? Because what you need to understand, I think the reason why Eskom did not go that route is because of who was in charge of Eskom. What was their interest? You are speaking about people that are actually having business interest with coal, so they cannot discourage the use of coal because that's their money. Every day we are seeing people from a particular group that are actually implicated in whatever that was happening at Eskom. So the answer to your question is that everybody should be fired. No, they should be arrested. You correctly said because one of the reasons why we had to take that the national minister to court as the seat of Cape Town is because I think his hands are also there in that cookie jar. He will never allow a situation where that, I would say, that cash cow now is not available for him to do whatever that he wants to do. Currently, we are speaking about the emergency procurement. But you can see, even there, why are they not allowing those IPPs to provide to municipalities, but they must go to Eskom? What is the motive? So what I'm trying to say is that the reason why we are in this situation is because the leadership, the political will is not there to convert Eskom to go with the greenies.
Still to this day, with all the eyes that's on Eskom at the moment, are you saying there are still people with their hands in the cookie jar solidly?
I believe so. I will be proven wrong by the Commission of Inquiry on State Capture. They will have to prove me wrong. But I believe we are speaking to people that are implicated. But we're just waiting for the day when their names are going to be called.
There's a lot of questions on, we're going to come back to you now, Ajay. There's a lot of questions on the YouTube line.
Our viewers are very excited when you said, Councillor, that you can actually get money back from Eskom. Okay. Can you just take us through?
From the power grid.
Yeah. Can you just take us through step by, like I've got solar panels at my house, for example, and I'm saving electricity or not using as much. How does it work? Do you work out how much?
And how do you feed back into the system? Do you need a special? Is there a special tool for that? Do you need to buy something?
Firstly, as I've said, we are engaging the installers to say this is a process that should be followed, because remember, at the end of the day, it is our infrastructure, so we must know that the person that is connecting to that infrastructure is connected correctly. So we've got our standards, so whoever that must connect must meet our standards. We do have what we call a bi-directional meter that you need to install. But it's not any meter. It will be a meter specified by us because that meter must speak to our systems of billing and everything. So through that communication, we know how much you've consumed and how much you fed back to the grid. Then when you've got a capacity that you did not use and you fed back to our grid, then per kilowatt, there will be an amount that we will actually be paying you, but we don't pay you cash. That will offset your bill that you must pay the municipality.
Okay.
So per kilowatt, we were paying about 78 cents per kilowatt. Now we've added an incentive of 25 cents on top of that. So it will take you to over R1, almost in pair with what we are paying Eskom. So that is what we will be paying you as a generator.
Is there a complicated procedure, this?
It is not complicated.
You phone in or you apply online?
You go to your nearest municipal office and then you say, this is what you do. They will there and then direct you. But as I've said, the process must be in line with our processes. You cannot just install and then we don't know. You come to us and we tell you the right direction and we provide you with all the information that you need. Because it's not anybody that can install. We've got accredited installers that are working on our network, because remember, at the end of the day, it's still our network, we're still liable. So
But
that
you
is
see-
why we need to make sure that whoever that is tampering or connecting to that network is in line with what we are
But you
understanding.
see, the thing is, because this is a costly exercise for any residential
Let's
or
do that exercise just quickly.
I
Just
can
for-
tell you now, there's an article literally dropped in about an hour ago on my broadband where they going through this whole process.
Okay, so let's work it out. So it's about R1 per kilowatt. What is the average household? What is your consumption? The average household. How many kilowatts do you use?
Average is over 600 kilowatts.
Over 600, yeah.
600. So that can effectively bring your your bill down by 600 rand if you're feeding that back.
The other thing that we need to understand, when we speak sustainability and renewable energy, we must not think about today. We need to think about the future, because you will realize your benefits in the future. So for many people, it is so difficult to go green because they think it's costly. We are, again, as the city, exploring other innovative financial models where we will actually now cover that upfront cost, because we've heard our customers saying that we do want to go green, but the upfront cost is very huge for us. So we are looking at means of saying, how do we as the city meet you halfway? We are at a stage where we are consulting, hopefully that we will have that project up and running very soon.
What is the council doing to get that message? Because that message needs to reach the consumer ultimately. There's a lot of fly-by-nights out there that's operating, doing business at the moment, operating on the fact that Eskom is letting you down, and if you don't want to sit without power, and it's a huge cost. I did that at my house. I went the solar power route about probably 4 or 5 years ago, and it was a very costly exercise then. And it was one that I did, and I said, well, I'm going to spend 175,000 rand, which I will take as part of my bond, and it's going to cost me about 1,500 rand a month on my bond, but I will be saving ultimately on my electricity bill, which I have been doing, but it's still been a very costly exercise. So there's a lot of companies that's in the market at the moment that's charging exorbitant rates to do things like this. Will council be embarking on a program to enlighten people and make them realize, listen, it's not such a costly exercise actually, and it shouldn't be costing you a second bond on your house?
Yeah, I think that is exactly what we are trying to do, because what we are trying to do is to say, let us get an external financier to cover that upfront cost, and then you as the property owner, you will have to repay that in a long period of time, which will actually make it easy for you. Because for now, we still got financiers that are actually believing in the city of Cape Town. So it is very easy for us to get an external financier, but what we are busy doing now is to prepare our regulatory framework to allow for that. Because remember, what we will have to do now is to add an additional item on your bill to say we will collect this amount in order for us to repay the lender that we used. So as soon as we get our regulatory framework ready, we will go out and tell people. I think my colleague is aware of what I'm talking about.
Totally.
Okay, so AJ, here's my question. Sorry, I'm asking a lot of questions, but I think it's stuff people want to know. So if I'm sitting at my house at the moment and I'm thinking, you know what, I'm sick and tired I'm sick and tired of restarting my koi pond actually, because every time the power goes off, then I've got to go and bleed the pump and put water in again, and the whole thing, it's just a schlep. So for me, I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, you know what, maybe I should just invest in a solar panel or whatever it is
Completely
that's
off the
going
grid,
to take me off the grid or to help me through this load shedding stage. But I'm thinking, you know, I've got a quote, and the quote is 100,000 Rand or whatever. What is the actual, what is the cost that we should be looking at for a normal household to help you through stage 2 of load shedding? What is that figure?
The investment, yeah.
It depends. That's the answer. It depends on what you want to keep. What services do you want to keep?
Normal
if you want
household,
lights, if you just want lights, and there's variations of this. So if you want to have fridge and freezer running, you know, you start going easily into the 100,000s for systems, including sort of storage.
That's 10 kilowatt plus.
It's 10 kilowatt plus. And then we've got, you know, the smaller systems where, okay, well, we'll just have the lights on, or we'll just have, for example, your TV and your internet connection. For, you know, so there's variations. So it really is dependent upon what you want, what package you want. And there's a couple of packages that you find are, you know, out on many service providers providing those. I think key is what Councillor McClicky said now, is that you've got to look at an accredited installer, and and this is the beauty of it, is that all of this information is online. If you go to the City of Cape Town's website, they've got all this, they've got a guideline, they show, so there's a whole lot of information that's already there. Not only do they do that, they also offer incentives as well. So there's a lot of information, and they've also been doing communication. So recently they had the Cape Town Energy Festival. There's a whole series of not just on a small-scale embedded generation, which is what solar PV is, but also on other aspects that the city's been doing from an energy point of view. And we've also, I mean, over the last 3 years, we've also been looking at every winter, we do a savings campaign and pushing from Western Cape government aside, also looking at municipalities where there are feed-in tariffs so that people are aware that this is an opportunity that they can take up.
You've mentioned an important factor, because we haven't even started with winter yet. In fact, today was 38 degrees or 37 degrees in Brackenfell, so we are still a long way away from winter. I think that's what's bugging people, because we're already going with load shedding the route that we are going, so people are scared of the coming winter, and they should be. We're going to go back to the band, and then when we come back, we're going to ask the question of the two guests. I see we're running out of time. We're going to ask the question of how far are we down the road? What is there's a lot of negativity around. There's a lot of negative people, and they feed negative energy into the system, if you like. And I think there's a lot of COVID's been a big impact on negativity as well. And we don't need the negativity as far as the power goes, which is actually something which is quite fixable. I think that's the lesson that we're learning here tonight. It's fixable. But if we're going to ask the question, how fixable is it, in what space of time do we need to come to a solution? And what is the short-term solution? We all know what the long-term solution is. Everyone should be arrested and fired. But as far as the short-term solution is, how do we get there as quickly as possible? Back to the band.
through the valley, move west down Ventura Boulevard. All the bad boys standing in the shadows, all the good girls are home with broken hearts. And I'm free, free falling. And I'm free, free falling. Free falling now, I'm free falling now, I'm free falling now, I'm free falling now, I'm free falling, yeah, free falling now, I'm free falling, yeah, free falling, Oh, and I wanna back down over my Holland, wanna ride a name in the sky. I wanna free fall out into nothing. I'm gonna leave this world for a while, and I'm free, free falling. Oh, and I'm free, free falling, yeah. Free falling now, I'm free falling now, I'm free falling now, free falling now, I'm free falling, yeah, I'm free falling now, I'm free falling, baby, I'm free falling, I'm free, free falling,
Die naam Bok Radio is nog altyd sinoniem met topklas vermaak. Gevestig in Brackenfell, maar internasionaal beskikbaar by bokradio.co.za. By Bok TV beleef jy radio soos nog nooit tevore. Sien en hoor asof jy 'n omroeper is. Span al jou sintuie in en kry die volle Bok Radio en Bok TV ervaring.
Die bekende aanlyn biltong sessies, weekliks op WimTv.net, sorg vir vermaak deur Suid-Afrika se beste kunstenaars in die gemak van jou eie huis. Met die bekendstelling van Heroes Restaurant kan jy nou deel wees van die gehoor, terwyl jy smil aan die unieke disse deur chef Jean-Louis Geldenhuys.
Die koffiestond het goud in die mond by Kappenouts Koffiewinkel. Prikkel al jou sintuie.
Bok Radio, Bok TV, WimTV, Heroes en Kappenouts.
Alles onder een dak.
By Cape Gate Decor Centre. Die WimTv show waar dinge gesê word soos dit is. Ons praat oor wat ons wil, wie ons wil.
You say a lot of things about me.
En vir so lank as wat dit nodig is.
Welkom terug hier by die WimTv show en baie lekker informative aand vanaand en dis baie goed om te hoor. Ek wil vir julle herinner daaraan asseblief, onthou dat jy hierdie program 8,5 week kan kyk, like en share dit asseblief. Ons weet uit ondervinding die meeste van die views op die show kom na die tyd wanneer mense dit view en hulle share dit met ander mense. So asseblief gaan druk daai like knoppie en dan sal jy al die notifications kry van die WimTv show en share dit. Vertel vir ander mense dat hulle weet wat aangaan met krag hierso in die Weskaap en. Simon, jy het 'n vraag.
So this is for the councillor. The messages we get from our social media here is quite exciting because I don't think a lot of people knew about the rebate part of things, and they're asking where we can get the information and more information. And I went onto the Cape Town government website, so it's quite easy. You can just click on the family and home link, green living, and then saving electricity, and it tells you exactly how to go about registering for your what is it called, a PV system. So that's all there. So it's a matter of going online, do the application through there, or you can go to your local municipality and do it. So it's not that complicated. But what I get back from the social media, viewers, is that I don't think a lot of people knew about this, incentive that the city of Cape Town is doing, and our news guy, Brandon, the media guy, has given us a bit of a history as well here, that how good Cape Town is actually performing, not just with the green side of things, but just in general how they're managing the municipalities.
Is that true?
Thank you. Maybe I must speak on the issue of registration.
Yes.
Remember, if you connect to our grid and we don't know that you connected, when our staff members and contractors are working on the grid, they are running a risk of being electrocuted because we don't know who's connected, who's not connected. That is the sole purpose of us registering these systems. Because if a person goes there without knowing, that person might lose life. So we don't want to be seen as the government that is killing its own people. And as you correctly said, the process is not as difficult as people might think, but we are trying by all means to improve on our communications, because with the help of Green Cape, we are meeting with the industry, discussing, as I've said, trying to resolve whatever blockages that people might find. But the most important thing for us is to simplify all these processes, because we are not making this for fun. We're making this because we understand the impact when this load shedding and everything affect our customers. Again, when you consider the stress that people of Cape Town had to go through, not only Cape Town, because of COVID. Now, when you add the additional burden of load shedding, it is very terrible. It is very terrible, and we cannot actually live with that. That is why we are doing whatever that we can to make sure that we improve the situation. We are now busy pursuing our own renewable energy plant that we will start before the end of this year. Hopefully, you were asking about the short and medium term resolutions. We are building our own solar plant in Atlantis. We have identified a piece of land. We made budget available. We've done all the preparatory work that we need to do. So we are hoping that very soon we will have our own plant on renewable energy that will be providing the people of Cape Town with electricity. So we are not only folding arms, while at the same time we are still pushing with our case of procuring that energy from the IPPs. Because what was announced, I think about 3 days ago now, is actually not what we were requesting. We were requesting us as municipalities to be allowed to go direct to the IPPs, not via Eskom. So that is what we don't agree with. But we are not going to fold arms in the meantime. We will continue with other processes that we can actually implement. As I've said, people must implement the renewable energy technology, because that is what we are doing as the city. Because you are not only saving money, because I will tell you, between 2009 and 2019, the city of Cape Town has saved over 300 million rand with energy efficiency. So when you install this technology, you're also saving money. But the additional benefit is that, because the reason why we are having load shedding is that the capacity that Eskom have does not cope with the demand. So the more we use green energy, the more we use this technology, we release that stress on Eskom. So by then, we will be playing our role in reducing the load shedding, because load shedding is there because capacity is not enough.
Okay, that makes sense. There's also been a question I see from one of our pensioner listeners, and I think he makes a very valid point, and he asks, would there be somebody looking at a reduction in fees for pensioners and old age people in old age homes who's been severely hit by COVID as one of the problems. I think it's also a bit of a social problem that we face in South Africa, where you have older people that have to live on 2,000 Rand SASSA pension, which is absolutely ridiculous. Would there be a reduction in rates? Are you looking at reducing rates for older people when this type of renewable energy comes online and you can have your own power plant? Would there be a reduction for people that can't afford it?
I'm not going to commit to that now, but what I will say is that there are policies within the city that are looking into meeting those that cannot afford halfway. So whoever that cannot afford to pay can visit the city. If you are a pensioner, you automatically qualify for what we call indigent grant. So there are grants that are there to assist those that cannot afford, provided that you meet that criteria. So a pensioner is one of those that are actually meeting the criteria.
It's also on the website. I saw it now, yes.
I think we should embark on, yes, the business people, the business person in me looking for a business opportunity, but I think there's a lot of scope to advertise this type of thing on local radio stations like Bok Radio, who has quite a following in the northern suburbs and in that community. So I think there's a lot of people that's learning a lot of stuff tonight that's not maybe general knowledge. And I think there's definitely scope for possibly running a bit of a campaign, information campaign about how exactly this works. So I think that's about it, guys. I think we've covered most of it. We've had our moment of being upset with Eskom, and I think the councillor summed it up correctly. I think they all should be in jail, or they should all be on their way to jail, or somewhere in a bus busy transporting them to jail. Because they have robbed us blind. And in doing so, they have made the poor poorer, and they've contributed to what we have in this country at the moment, which is you have two extremes. You have very rich people, and then you have very poor people, and the very poor just being exploited more and more and more, with more and more people's hands in the cookie jar. I think that's it. AJ, thanks very much for joining us tonight. I think we should take a book or leave from your book and definitely speak to you a bit more, especially on the radio side. There's a lot of education that needs to happen with ultimate consumers, and I think if the message gets home to people, we can solve this problem. I think that's what I'm taking out of this. It's solvable. It's not that we're running into a mountain and we can't get around it. It's solvable.
If I can just respond, I think there's a couple of things there that you've just mentioned. Not only have we seen rejuvenation in Eskom right now. I mean, I talked about an energy transition that's actually happening across the world. It's also happening in Eskom. They've got a Just Energy Transition Office that they're setting up. They are also very gung-ho about moving towards renewable energy. So as much as there's been mismanagement at Eskom, there's a new wave that we're seeing in Eskom, and they have got the expertise that is required. This is why they were tasked with energy saving when it was required. So I'm just saying that it's not all doom and gloom with Eskom. But also wanting to say that we've also seen through what the DMRE has just put out, we've seen the response that we've been waiting for new power to come onto the grid. Eskom themselves, being in their financial situation, can't actually invest. But with these new programs, the Risk Mitigation Independent Power Production Program, and then the new opening of bid window 5, it actually seeks to further push the green economy. And go back to the green investment that we were looking for. And I mean, we're just happy to say that we've got the head offices of some of the renewable energy companies involved all in the Western Cape. So you know, the outlook for green energy looks great. And then we've got this program that we're speaking about called the Municipal Energy Resilience Project. So similar to what the City of Cape Town is doing in building resilience through the various aspects, through solar PV at household and commercial level, through the new power plants that they want to put up at Atlantis, through investigating other options like municipal procurement of independent power production. Those are aspects that we're currently looking at, not in collaboration with the city, but beyond that, we're looking at a couple of municipalities to develop pioneering projects with the aim that in the next 2 to 3 years, that we can have a master plan where all of the Western Cape municipalities can understand what would be the right kind of project that they could implement to build their own energy resilience, and thereby allowing at least not to be just a receiver of load shedding, but have some actions that they could place to combat either the load shedding or the higher and higher costs of energy and assist the common people. Thanks.
Councillor, I'm going to end off with you. I'm going to ask you the question. We've heard a lot about the Western Cape and what the City of Cape Town is doing, and it's commendable. And I think it's a very honourable thing. I think the question that I want to ask you is it only the Western Cape and the City of Cape Town that's doing this, or is this happening throughout the rest of the country? And is there a way that we can get the rest of the country to catch up, in a sense, with the Western Cape, who's leading things again, and get to a point where everybody sees the bigger picture, and we can move away from load shedding, which is costing us billions?
It is not only the Western Cape and the City of Cape Town that is thinking of doing this, but it is only the Western Cape and the City of Cape Town that has already started something. All the other metros are coming to us to say, where do they start? If I can speak to you now, we've got what is called now the wheeling framework. That is to allow a third party to use our infrastructure to transport energy to another person that would love to. So these are things that we've already done. All the other municipalities have not done that. So our regulatory framework is ready. As soon as we are getting a green light or a go-ahead, we will start, and we've done everything. But the others, I would say they are 10 steps behind us. They are following.
Time-wise, how far are they behind, time-wise?
It is going to be years, because I remember the current mayor of Durban. He spoke to me when we were in Copenhagen to say they want to start your feed-in tariff that we done so many years ago. So I think it's years behind. Okay.
I think if I may add, just it's dependent. So we have seen different models being pushed by certain municipalities. Ekurhuleni, Midvaal, eThekwini, they've each taken a project and a different approach. But in terms of the full suite of activities, I think Cape Town has been doing them for much longer and investigating, exploring what can possibly happen for much longer.
It's almost like Cape Town was a bit more proactive when the problem wasn't really there yet. Right. And now for the rest of the country, it's a catch-up type of situation.
In fact, I just want to add that since we've been implementing specifically the small-scale embedder generation, some of the works that have happened there have then taken the framework documents, etc. They've been then taken by the likes of SALGA and other associations up into the national level. So that's actually spread out. So it's a little bit of how can we learn from others, but at the same time, how can we also benefit, how can that benefit to the broader South African community? Wheeling is the next step that we were busy working with right now, is how a generator on the grid, third-party generator, can use a municipal grid to supply a customer independently of the agreement within the city. So they just have a billing agreement between each other. Sure. And they, again, almost business-to-business interaction.
Yes. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Great stuff. Sure. Okay, that's very exciting. We all very enlightened. Thanks very much for joining us, Councillor. Thanks for driving out all the way to the northern suburbs. And please have your passport stamped when you leave the northern suburbs back to where you go. So thanks very much for joining us tonight. Baie dankie dat jy ingeskakel het weer eens by nog 'n uitgawe van die WimTv program. Volgende week selfde tyd, selfde plek, dan is ons weer terug met nog eene. met nog 'n episode. Ek is nog nie heeltemal seker nie. Daar's 'n paar dinge waaroor ek wil chat volgende week, maar ons gaan so deur die loop van die week gaan ons weer dan sal ons 'n aankondiging doen. Baie dankie weer eens dat jy by ons aangesluit het vanaand. Onthou, sluit Vrydag aand weer by ons aan om 7 uur. Dan is dit nog 'n biltong sessie, Bok Radio en WimTv wat help met die kunstenaars om die kunstenaars in die lewe te hou deur COVID-19 has been very tough on the artists, and I need you to take this message back to the city of Cape Town. The artists are really bleeding as they are the people that cannot earn a living at this stage with COVID. So we've done our bit. We're holding online concerts for the artists, and Friday night is another one. Ons het die broers saam met jou Vrydag aand hier op Bok Radio, Bok TV, WimTv met nog 'n biltong sessie. Ons sê vir jou goeie nag, amper sê ek vir jou Wimpie, Simon en Stem, baie dankie. Ek sien vir julle weer volgende week.
Ja, kan nie wag nie.
Councillor, thanks for joining us. And AJ, thank you very much for joining us. Ons gaan uitspeel met die band. Jy moet 'n lekker aand hê. Ons is terug met jou volgende week. Onthou, like en share hierdie link asseblief met die res van die mense en vertel hulle van die interessante planne wat ons met energie het. Lekker aand.
Wimpie, ons het nou 'n bietjie gerede kabel hier so onder ons en ons het tot 'n beslissing gekom. Ons is redelike resultaatgedrewe ouens en ons wil dieselfde ding by Eskom eintlik toepas. Het jy al ooit 'n meeting gedoen terwyl jy plank?
Nee.
Moes jy al ooit 'n meeting aangepak het in die plank posisie?
Dis 'n meeting waaroor ek
om
wil
mee
praat.
te begin, ek weet nie wat planking is nie, maar
Dit klink na werk.
Dit is geweldig. Jou meeting is 30 sekondes is verby. So daai wat nie op 'n e-mail kon kom nie, is nou vinniger as 'n e-mail getik, is dit verby. Ons voel dat moontlik met die ouens net daar praat by Eskom 'n paar voice scripts kry, die goons in die grip sit en kyk hoe die resultate aankom.
ek gaan akkoord gaan met daai.
Ja.
Ek dink jy moet dit net in Engels stel en dan vra ons die counselor om dit aan te pas.
My Engels is op vir vandag.
I'm not translating.
Years, my life is still trying to get up that great big hill of hope for a destination. I realized quickly, I knew that I should. This world was made of this brotherhood of man, for whatever that means. And so I wake in the morning and I step outside. Deep breath, I get real high and I scream from the top of my lungs, what's going on? And I said, hey, yeah, yeah, hey, yeah, yeah. I said, hey, what's hope for a destination.
Dankie dat jy die WimTv show ondersteun. Vir meer kontroversiële gesprekke, maak seker jy is volgende week weer ingeskakel by wimtv.net.